Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Sejanus, his fall, and we get to hear from Lepidus today in Act 5, Scene 10. So the big fall has happened. This Act 5, Scene 10 is in the courthouse where all of the senators were in there, and Laco was told if anybody tries to get out, it's okay if you kill them, and the doors are supposed to be locked, and they bring in Sejanus, and everybody except for Aruntius and Lepidus were like, oh, Sejanus, oh, Sejanus. But then the charges against him were read out in the form of a letter from Tiberius to the entire Senate. And in this letter, Tiberius said that Sejanus was actually guilty of all of these treasons, and he made bad choices and did all of these things. So he's stripped of all of his titles, of his place, of his status, all of that, and needs to be arrested. And Latarius and Nata were also mentioned in the letters as being maybe co-conspirators, but sort of fuzzy on all of that. So while all of this proclamation was going on, we had Aruntius and Lepidus playing the part of Statler and Waldorf, the two Muppets that sit in the balcony and make fun of things. And the whole Sejanus faction, they were loving it when Sejanus was being praised in the letter by Tiberius, but as soon as he is stripped of his titles, they're like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So once the proclamations are done, everything is just kind of chaos. We have Latarius and Nata are taken away under guard, and Aruntius is like, yes, finally things are going the right way. And everybody who was on Sejanus' side before immediately starts distancing themselves from him. Like, you know, we never liked him in the first place, and all this, to the point where Sejanus is looking around and he's like, do I have a single friend in this room? And nobody answers. So then Macro comes in and he announces that Tiberius has named him the new provost. So he now has all of the titles and the power and the clout and all of that Sejanus did. And he turns to Sejanus and he's like, you know what? If I wanted to like abandon every shred of humanity that I have, it'd be super fun to torture you right now. So, but I'm not going to do that. So instead, you're just going to be arrested and sort of taken through the streets and exited. So the Sejanus side, which is now the former Sejanus side, they are totally on board with arresting Sejanus. They're like, yes, we must punish the traitor and get him out of here and all this. But then also to save their own butts, they're like, we need to go make a sacrifice to the gods. And they can't decide amongst themselves which god they need to make a sacrifice to. So my guess is they're going to go make sacrifices to all of the gods just to cover all of their bases. So Sejanus is led out under arrest with pretty much everybody else following him except for Lepidus and Aruntius and a couple other random senators. And the ones that are following out are like, arrest the traitor, arrest the traitor. So once they're gone, Lepidus starts musing on how changeable people are, how easy it is for people to change their minds. And Aruntius is like, yeah. And Lepidus says, who would depend on the popular air or voice of men that have today beheld that which, if all the gods had foredeclared, would not have been believed? Sejanus' fall. He, that this morn rose proudly as the sun, and breaking through a mist of client's breath, came on as gazed at and admired as he, when superstitious Moors salute his light. That had our servile nobles waiting him as common grooms, and hanging on his look, no less than human life on destiny. That had men's needs as frequent as the gods, and sacrifices more than Rome had altars. And this man, fall, aye, without a look that durst appear his friend, or lend so much of vain relief to his changed state as pity. So he's just digging into the changeable minds of the people that were following Sejanus. He's like, if you had said, even if all of the gods had told us that Sejanus was going to have this downfall, nobody would have believed it. Like, nobody would have believed it, because Sejanus woke up this morning thinking that he was ascending to godlike status, and probably for good reason. He was more admired and more watched and more followed and more waited on and more doted on than anyone. As many people prayed and made sacrifices to him as due to the gods. And then this happens, and they all, like, not even a single kind look is sent his way. And I don't know that Lepidus actually has pity for Sejanus at this point. That would be something that you could look at when you play the character yourself and decide whether or not he empathizes at all with Sejanus at this point because of his fall and because he instantly lost every single ally he ever had. Or is Lepidus like reveling in this, thinking that Sejanus got his just desserts? You know, you could also lean into that if you want to, but a couple different ways to look at that. So Aruntius and Lepidus continue musing on this, and they add some more metaphors to the list until they hear a shout from inside, and Macro comes back in with Regulus and some of the other senators, and Macro's like, ha ha ha, Sejanus, look at you, you were so great, and now you've fallen flat. And all the other senators around are like, oh, hail Macro, he's so wonderful. And then they all sort of parade out again until we only have Aruntius and Lepidus on stage. And Aruntius is like, you know what? Macro might be just as bad as Sejanus. Is it possible that we just swapped out one bad thing for another bad thing? But before there can be any sort of response to that, Terentius enters, and he's going to have tomorrow's monologue. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.